relatively new to the Guard. His mother had been a corporal in Lyss's squadron. She'd been killed in the fens the previous year, leaving Cam to support two younger brothers. The funeral fires were barely out when 12-year-old Cam came to Lyss, asking to enlist in the Highlanders. "I'd like to fight for you, ma'am," he said, chin up, shoulders back, already at attention. "Everyone says I'm sure to see some action if I'm with you." "Stay at home a little longer, Cam," she'd said. Though Lyss was only 2 years older, it felt like decades. "You was fighting in the war at 12, Cam said. "Mama told me that. When you was 13, you grabbed the Grey Wolf banner from the cold, dead hands of your commander and led the charge that drove the Southerners into the sea at Hallowmere. And just last year you—" Lyss held up both hands. "Don't believe everything you hear," she said. "Stories have a way of growing, and there's a lot they leave out." Cam clenched his jaw. "There's lots of my age mates in the Highlanders. The only reason I never signed up is Mama wouldn't let me. She always said I had to look after my brothers." Lyss knew that any other commander would have signed him right up. He was likelier than many they had in the field. There was nothing to stop him from going elsewhere if she refused. "Who will look after your brothers if you go to war?" she'd said. "I have older cousins near Westwall," Cam said. "They can stay there during the marching season." "What about school?" "I'm pretty much finished at the Temple School, but I'll study hard when I'm home." Lyss sighed. She knew what happened to that kind of promise. "Why do you want to go to war? Find an apprenticeship, something you can carry on with after the war." "After the war, Mom?" Cam looked baffled. "Do you really see an end to it any time soon?" And Lyss could not lie to this boy who'd lost so much already. "I don't know," she said. "Then I want to help," he said. "I want to go after the ones that killed my mother." In the end, Lyss had put in a word with Captain Byrne, and Cam had been allowed to sign up with the Grey Wolves. That would keep him off the battlefield, and he could be posted close to home. This summer, though, he'd managed to get assigned to Lyss, so he'd found his way to the battlefield anyway. Who's to say the Vale is any safer, Lyss thought. The queens of the fells were bound by blood and history to the Spirit Mountains. Their Grey Wolf ancestors were the guardians who dwelt in the forests and high mountain passes. The peaks had always stood as an impenetrable barrier to the south, holding evil at bay. 25 years ago, when her mother Rasa was a young queen, the monstrous Gerard Montaigne, king of Arden, had breached that barrier. His armies had marched all the way to the gates of Fellsmarch, demanding surrender. They'd driven him off then, and reinforced the borders, and through 25 years of war they had kept him at bay. Then, 4 years ago, the killings began. They started with her father and brother, but were not limited to the royal family. It was most often wizards, but included military officers, clan warriors, government officials, and members of the nobility. What they had in common was their importance to the war effort, or their close connection to the Queen. How were they supposed to protect themselves against an enemy who could be anywhere and might strike at any time? Lyss dipped her waterskin into the bone-chilling creek, refilling it for the ride ahead. The streams that ran down from Alyssa Peak were always cold, fed by snowmelt that ran from spring until the new snows cloaked her rocky summit in late summer. The Southerners had a different name for her, the Harlot, because she was a mountain that broke men's hearts. Ardenine hearts, maybe, Lyss thought. Over the past several days, they'd ridden hard from Waycamp to join the rest of their salvo in Queen Court Vale. The Queendom's eyes and ears had sent word that the Ardenine general, Marin Karn, had landed a large force at Spirit Gate. Their intended target could be Fortress Rocks to the north, or Queen Court Vale, which spread out in front of them, a checkerboard of small farms in the middle of the harvest season. "Somebody's coming," Sasha said, pointing over Lyss's shoulder.